Hello, hello, hello. Okay, let me see here. Let me know if you can't hear me for those that are tuning in, um, because I am using a different microphone and I don't know if it's actually picking up. Perfect. All right. So I am near a main street, so you might hear some cars passing by. So I apologize for that. But Um, so the whole purpose of today was to kind of go over any questions you might have about the virtual round sessions and about the plan going forward. I am going to share this with Facebook as well. Um, or if anybody is on the Facebook group, go ahead and let them know that we're going live right now. Um, and I'll post it in the classrooms as well. All right. So I put out a poll earlier today and about whether or not we need to do if we need to push back tomorrow's live session because I realize that there's a lot going on right now and it pushed back some of my schedule as well. And so the last thing I would want is for us to meet together and not be adequately prepared. But I also wanted to make sure that you guys aren't tired of chest pain because it's going to be about 3 weeks of doing it. So if we do push it back till tomorrow, till next week, then we can at least spend some time to get a little bit more information on going through a differential diagnosis. I'm going to put a video out on how I approach a case. I found a case online that I haven't really seen before. So I haven't gone through it yet, but what I was planning to do is film myself going through the case and show you how I approach the case. So that way we can um, you can see what my approach is and how you should think about approaching the cases as well. Um, so Navneet asked, how are we turning in all the notes we've been taking? Just curious about that. So at the end of the case, I'm going to post an assignment that's basically just turn in whatever notes you have. You don't have to turn in a bunch of stuff. You can turn in whatever you have. It's really up to you. It's my way of figuring out and keeping track of how much you've done. And so if a medical school comes and asks like, hey, what was this program about? What did you guys do? How is this beneficial to a person's education? I can talk about um, exactly what you did, and if they need examples with your permission, I can show them. And so that's why it's really important to turn those in. You don't necessarily have to turn in anything amazing. It just needs to be something so I have it there. So in the classroom, you're going to have an assignment and you just upload whatever documents you have to that assignment. So that's pretty much all you really need to do. And it'll be more clear. I'll post the assignment right before we do the virtual session. So the other thing that I had mentioned a little bit earlier was everybody, if they can, submit a submit a response to whether or not you want to push back the session tomorrow and Sunday to the next week. So Murray's asking if these are group notes. Yeah, your entire group can have the same notes. It doesn't matter. It can be handwritten. It can be PDF. Somebody put all their notes on an Anki deck. Just submit screenshots of your Anki deck. I don't really care. It's just a matter of putting something up to show that you did something. If you are doing like aesthetic notes and like really pretty notes that you want to share to the rest of the class. That's a good way to upload it, and then you can also email me. I'm gonna try to compile some things. Maybe like a notebook for what we're doing with your permission, so that we can share it to the rest of the class and other people that are going to come after you guys. All right. I think there was. Hey Danielle, any advice on how to balance 3 summer classes and this program? So if you feel like you're being overwhelmed with this program and your coursework at school, let us know, because the last thing I want is for you to jeopardize your grades, because your grades are going to be way more important than going through this program. And so be open with us, let us know, and if you have to defer this program to another time, that's okay. We are going to look at how successful it is and look at what we did here and see if there is anything that any lessons we can learn, and then maybe we're going to do it later on in the years again. So there is probably going to be opportunities to get involved again. So if you are feeling overwhelmed, just let us know. It's okay. With us getting the hospital team groups only yesterday, we're still getting in contact. Yeah, and that's why some of you reached out and let me know that, and so that was very helpful feedback. And so I think it's important for us to learn more things than just chest pain. I don't want this to be just chest pain, but at the same time, I do want you guys to have the opportunity to do what you can to learn as much as you can. So yeah. Because the more you know, the more fruitful our conversations are going to be. So you should be discussing the cases with your hospital groups. So the way it works is your rounding group is your group of 4. That's your solid group that you're going to be working with the entire time you're in this program. And so right now, some people might have groups of 3, groups of 2, and there's a few people with groups of 1 because of people that had to drop out. And so we're going to add people back. We're going to add people to the group so that it's more equitable and everybody has somebody to talk to within their actual groups. But aside from that, we created the hospital group system so that your ideas within your group aren't just kind of like an echo chamber, so that you can go and talk to another group that might have had different ideas, and you can come together and figure out different ways to approach a case. And so, as you might have seen with the cases that I sent out, they're not very straightforward, and they have a little bit of nuances to it, and we're going to get to that. But that is why it's important to talk about it in a hospital group and in a bigger group where the ideas are going to be a little bit different. So yeah. There aren't any labs for the first case in this week. Yeah. So that's on purpose, because when we're going to do the live session, you're going to ask me what labs you want. And you're going to have to focus on the most important labs first. You're going to have to focus on the reasons why you want to get those labs. So it's going to be important that you know exactly why you're doing what you're doing. So I hope that makes sense. I wasn't at the live session, so I'm a bit confused about one thing. Your videos on chest pain can help our group come to a predicted diagnosis, and we will talk about that in rounds. Yeah. So the videos that I posted are going to be helpful in figuring out what your diagnosis is at the end. The readings also are going to help with that. So if we are going to push back the date, I will add more videos on chest pain and add more information to help you out. But if we decide to go through a chest pain this weekend, I'll be focusing more on the next topic, which is abdominal pain. But so everybody, please vote on whether or not you want to move on, or if you want to keep it one more week on chest pain so that you have a little bit more time to discuss. And please vote by 6 o'clock Pacific, 9 o'clock Eastern. And I'll let everybody know after that what they prefer, or what people preferred. So people that are trying to add into the Google Classroom, I actually I disabled the classroom codes because we had to get moving, and we had to start working on these cases. There are some people that dropped out, and so we're gonna reevaluate where we stand. I have the suspicion, though, that we might have to only allow a few people in so that we control the size of the class, because I think the smaller the class sizes, the better it is going to be for everybody. So I apologize if you can't add in this session. We're going to most likely have another session coming up where you'll be able to go through the entire course from the beginning. So I hope that helps. If you can't get in contact with your hospital group yet, so just keep discussing with your group, and we're going to, depending on what people say today, we're gonna either postpone it to the next week or go tomorrow. And so just discuss it with your group for now. Will I give you the vitals and physical exam for the cases, or will that be during the live meeting? So it's most likely going to be during the live meeting. And the reason why is the point of this class is not to get the right answer. It's to practice the thought process behind getting a diagnosis. And so it is going to be more difficult, and is going to it might be a little bit frustrating not having all the information, but it's going to be important that you discuss the different scenarios with your group. And so you generally have what more or less like what the different, sorry about that if you guys can hear that, you more or less have the what each of those what to expect with each of those causes of chest pain in terms of labs, in terms of vitals, physical exam, and all that. And so I don't expect you to memorize all that. You can have notes with you, but it's going to be a practice of kind of thinking on the fly, and then I'll guide you through it. So I don't think you should be worried about that. We'll figure it out together. But it's an important part of being a doctor, being able to analyze that on the fly. And I wanted to give you guys that experience. So I hope that answers your question. So if you haven't gotten a response from me, that is likely because I have probably about 200 emails waiting for me. So again, I apologize, but I had to triage and prioritize what getting the material out to the students in the class, and then from there, I will get to your email. Just be patient with me. It's okay to send follow-up emails. I'm not going to get offended or anything like that. Should you focus on the videos or the readings more? The videos are going to be more tailored to what I am trying to teach and what we're going to go over in the class. The reading is to get a better overall picture of it. Some of the readings are definitely more difficult, so just keep that in mind. But if you don't understand everything from the readings, that's okay. And I'll be posting more videos more consistently. And then whatever feedback you guys have for the videos is very helpful. You were in a group and went in to vote, but completely took you out of the class. Make sure you're signed into the right email. And if not, email me. That's a little strange. All right. So in the class, there aren't any labs. In the case there aren't any labs, so you have to talk about the different causes of chest pain in the context of the history. And so when you go through the history with your group, just talk about some of the different scenarios. Like, for instance, if the guy has an elevated troponin, well, that sounds like acute coronary syndrome or STEMI. And so you should be able to discuss those different scenarios, and you more or less have a list of the different causes of chest pain. And if you look through the videos I'm going to put out, I put some on the cardiac causes, some on the pulmonary causes, and then I'm going to do GI, musculoskeletal, and anxiety in the next video that I'm going to put out. And so you can use that as a list of the different causes, and you can focus on that more, and then go through each of those and think about the scenarios of why one would cause chest pain more than cause that certain type of chest pain more than the other. Um, are we talking about case one female and two on Sunday, or just two about the male? So it's going to be variable. It's going to be one or the other. I haven't decided which day is going to go, which day is going to get which one. So uh, you can choose. You should talk about both, but you can. I'm gonna choose which one we're gonna be doing on your day, and you're really not gonna know about it until the day of. So. For high school students, is the whole group supposed to sign up for the meeting? I've seen some groups sign up with all the members and some with only one. Yeah, so the whole group can sign up for the high school meeting. I just want to know for the high schoolers who's going to be there, because everybody's invited for that. Chest pain videos of the cardiac causes, pulmonary causes have been super helpful. Thank you. I appreciate that feedback. Are you adding more information on case two only, or both cases? So most likely it's going to be only case two. And the reason why is because I want to send out some additional like imaging and EKGs and all that. And so, but I want you guys to have what the different causes of chest pain can be for that case. So, yeah, it'll probably be more for case two. I'm going to write the cases out entirely, and I might send you guys those cases right before your class so you have it available. But I do want you to talk to your groups about it without having all of the information. So, and that's an exercise in thinking about the big picture of chest pain. And again, this is not for you to get the right answer. You're not going to get the right answer every time. It's about the process of getting to a diagnosis. And so I hope that with the next few videos I'm going to put out, it makes it a little bit more clear on how I do that. Is there going to be a set time for high school? Can you hear that ringing every time it goes on? I keep getting emails. Okay. For high, should I answer that? Okay, good. Okay. I lost where I was. Okay, so can I go over reading vitals? Yeah, I will post a video on that. But generally, the best way to go over vital signs is know the normals, know the abnormals, and really you can have a cheat sheet with you as we go through these cases. And the way that I generally do it is I'd write heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, just do arrows up and down. And so recognizing the patterns of, like, let's say somebody has a pulmonary embolism and they have tachycardia and decreased O2 saturation, you'll generally know that is seen a lot in pulmonary embolism. So that's a way of thinking of that more. So I hope that makes sense. But I will put a video out on how to do that. Is there going to be a set time for high school students meeting, like a certain time on Saturday, Sunday? You guys are always going to be the first class. So they're going to be 8 a.m. Pacific Saturday or 8 a.m. Pacific Sunday. This next time it's going to be on Sunday, so it'll be 8 on Sunday. The chest x-ray was for case one. For the EKG image, are there 3 different lines representing 3 different areas of the patient's heart? Yeah. So each of those are the different leads of the EKG, and I will go over how to read EKGs. EKGs are very hard system, but pretty much every so the EKG, they put stickers on the body, and depending on or their electrodes. And so depending on where those electrodes are placed, you have those different leads on reading out on the EKG. And so each of those lines represent different reference points on the body. And so it helps us kind of get a whole picture of how the heart looks. And so It is not a very easy thing to get, but if you have a system, you can generally go through it and understand what the EKG is showing. Okay. Would it be okay if we very or put into our own words the blurb you put together and send out to? Yeah, you can do that. You don't have to do it verbatim. Just keep the essence of what I'm saying there, because that is what I am going to use if admissions committees email me or try to call me or anything like that. So, hey guys, if you're just joining in, there's some comments up above, and if it has been already answered, anybody in the comments, feel free to reiterate what I wrote as I go through the comments you guys have. Are the notes we're submitting just for this week case, or everything we've done since the program started, including the first practice chest pain? Yeah, so it's going to be of everything. So I want a set of notes for chest pain. The next one's going to be abdominal pain, and so I'll have a set of notes from you guys for abdominal pain too. It just makes it easier. That way you can use your notes as we go through, and then just upload whatever you have. And if you just want to submit a document with just a few typed up notes, that's okay too. It's really for you to have a record that you put something into this class. When if people come back and ask me, what can I see the work they did, I would have to ask you about that first before I send it to them. So just keep that in mind. And then the other thing is, as far as time, how much time you spent in the class for applications, I'm going to limit it to a maximum of 3 hours a week. So for this, set of cases, let's say this is a 3-week cycle, it's going to be 9 hours total for chest pain. But some of you might be doing more time, and that's okay. But just to make it more even and easier for everybody, it'll be 3 hours a day. Or 3 hours a week, sorry. Okay. The notes are going to be due whenever we're done with that session. So you'll have like a day or two after. So yeah. Radiology masterclass really helps with these readings. Yeah. So, and that's the other thing too. There are a lot of other resources on YouTube and everywhere else that are free. So feel free to look at other resources as well. The reason why I'm putting out resources is just to focus your attention a little bit more. Does the use of contraception and having a family of children indicate anything about current sexual history? Should we say anything about the sexual history part of the H&P? Yeah, so you should definitely look at, for any of the medications that I include, look at the side effects and warnings on them. I try to limit the number of meds I put into these cases so that you don't have a huge list, and so it makes it a little bit easier. But look at that, and you should definitely think about the sexual history and the family, I guess the social history, so like where she lives and all that as well. So each of the points that I put in those cases generally have a reason why I put them there. So just keep that in mind. If you have, I'm going to shy away from giving you specific answers, but I will kind of give you general information here. Can I describe the 3 hours per week? Is that like 1 hour for this office hours, 1 hour videos posted, 1 hour when we meet? So it's gonna be the consistent one that you're going to be doing is 1 hour of virtual meeting. The rest is going to be your own study on the side. So like the time you take to read the articles, the time you take to watch the videos, and then these office hours can count as well. So I want you to log all the hours you took preparing for this. So if you take 10 hours during the week, I want you to log those too, because on the post quiz, I'm going to put a question on how many hours did you use to prepare for this case. And so I want to know that data so I can have a better idea of, how much time people are spending on these classes. But for med schools in general, um, and high schools, I mean, in colleges as well, I think I'm going to limit it to 3 hours, just because to make it consistent for everybody across the board. And 3 hours a week is it's not a small amount. So um, yeah, I hope that answers your question. Okay, I think I answered everybody's question so far. So for everybody that joined afterwards, just if you can, go to the classroom and vote whether or not you want to push back the date for the next set of cases. So the chest pain cases that I sent out from this week to next week. The caveat with that though is the next week I do have clinic in the morning on Saturday, so the start time is going to be a little bit later, and depending on what we decide, I will let you guys know what time that will be. Most likely it'll be 12 Pacific time. Yeah, so if the schedule says 5, 6, 7, 8 from 8 to 12, it's going to be 1 hour per. We might need to change that because I will try to end about 5 minutes early so we're on time for each class. But last time we ran a bit late. There were some technical issues and I started a bit late for one of the classes, and so that kind of pushed everything back. But it might be about like 5 or 10 minutes afterwards. And so the first class 5 is going to go at 8, then 9, then 10, 11. Yeah. And these are all Pacific Standard Time. Is there a difference between hospital round and virtual rounds groups, or did you make them so we can interact with other people? Yeah, so it's gonna be so you interact with other people, and you're able to talk about it with other people in other groups, so that you can get other ideas that other groups may have come up with, and kind of debate whether or not your answer is right versus their answer, and so on and so forth. So. If a lot of people have more than 3 hours a week, will I increase it from a max of 3? I can consider it. Are a lot of people spending more than 3 hours a week on this? Okay. How do you suggest we analyze a chest X-ray if you have not sure how to interpret the white matter? So with the chest X-ray, one thing that I had mentioned before is to look at the symmetry of the chest X-ray. So the dark is going to be so it's all based on density, right? So less dense things allow the X-rays to move past through the tissue and penetrate and get red on the other side. And so that comes up as dark versus more dense things are going to be a little bit wider. So the heart is so the black is basically air. All right, so it goes right through you. It's air. So those are basically your lungs. The whitest thing that you have is your bone, because your bone is very dense, and so that's very, very white. And then you have gradations of gray in between. And so the heart is generally a little bit more whiter because there's a lot of tissue there. It's harder for the X-rays to penetrate. And so what I would first want you to do is to look at the easiest ways to look for symmetry. So like the last case, there was a pneumonia kind of on that lower right chest side, and you saw that white kind of wedge there. But for this X-ray that I sent, look and see if you see kind of that like a white consolidation in one. And I'll give you a hint, like it's a pretty clear X-ray. I will go over how to read X-rays, but generally there's a system of how you go through it. So you look at the airways. I believe it's like A, B, C, D, E. So look at the airways, then you look at the bones, make sure. So the airways are trachea. So your trachea coming down, and your bronchi coming out. Make sure that it's not deviated. Your bones. Make sure there's no fractures. So you go along through each of the ribs and make sure that there's no kind of step offs. C is cardiac. So look at the heart silhouette. Is it larger than you would generally see? Typically with the heart, if you measure kind of the heart distance and you see if it's bigger than half of the chest. So from the spine to the wall of the chest, if that distance is smaller than the actual heart size itself, then you have an enlarged heart. You might have something like heart failure. Also, if the heart border touches the chest wall, you basically have heart failure there too. And then C, D. The D is the diaphragm. So you look at the diaphragm, which is basically the end of the thoracic cavity, and you look to see if there's any fluid there. It should be very sharp, kind of like a V. And if you don't see that V, then there's some type of infiltration there, and it's usually fluid. And then E, I think, is everything else. So that's the lung tissue itself. And so that trains you to look at the lung tissue last, because a lot of people will go straight for the lung tissue and try to find something there. But I'll put that in a video and explain all that to you. All right. What does present to the ED at 0300 mean? That's just military time. So it's 3 a.m. Why is it only 3 hours? Also, it seems like I put it as 3 hours just because I wanted to maintain, I don't. So the last thing I want is to overinflate the time for a lot of people. And if we are putting if we're showing a lot of time for it, I wasn't sure how med schools would react to that. But, if because some people aren't gonna put 3 hours, but if a lot of people are spending like 10 hours a week, we can increase that. I just need to know the data behind it. So my hospital, okay, my hospital round group is the same as the virtual round group. Is that, yeah? So your general group is your group of 4 that you're with all the time throughout this entire class. The hospital group is going to be your group and another group coming together and discussing it. So at most, you're going to have about 8 people in that group where you can talk about it. Okay. So 7 to 8 hours. Okay. So sometimes I do 1 hour a day. So that's like 7 hours. Okay. I'll think about the best way to get an idea earlier on, because I know some of you are submitting your application soon. So depending on what we show, I'll adjust that time. So the rest of case 2, so I'll send you the rest of the information for case 2, depending on when we do it. So I put a poll on the classroom, so make sure that you fill it out to see whether or not you want to push back the date for the live session. Because if you do, then I will post that update and the rest of the case next week. Okay. All right. So it's good feedback that you guys are telling me that you're spending way more time. So just to confirm, do we attend both Saturday and Sunday? You will be attending. So you'll be attending for sure the date and time that you were assigned. So if your classroom, if your residence, let's say residence 5, that's going to be for this upcoming session. It's going to be Saturday at 8 a.m. So if you're coming to the live session on Google Meet, you will be there in the classroom at 8 o'clock where we discuss. The rest of your team should be on YouTube watching the live stream. And so if you want, because these cases are going to be different, you can you can watch the opposite. So the other class on the next day to get more information about their case. And so you can do that. The only thing I would ask is don't watch. So if you are going at 11 a.m., don't watch the cases before, because it's gonna kind of ruin the process behind it. And again, it's not about getting the right answer. It's about the process of getting to the right answer, or the wrong answer. Just the process is more important. Can you explain what each of the three strips on the EKG represent? So yeah, so there's actually 12 strips on the EKG. So if you look at the actual strip itself, there is leads 1, 2, 3. There's AVF, AVL, and AVR, and then there's V1 through V6. And so all of those correspond to different reference points on the body. And so it's like looking at a camera, either below the heart, to the right of the heart, to the left of the heart, looking down this way, looking from the lateral side. And so it's all a way to get different reference points on the heart. And so it is it's a little bit complicated to explain here, but I can go through the rest of the questions, and if there's no more questions, I can try to answer it a bit more. Any updates on the people on the wait list yet? So with the wait list, because I'm going to try to control the amount of people that are coming into the classrooms to make it a better experience for those that are here. I might not be adding as many people from the wait list, just because it's not going to be fair for everybody in the classroom. If we have students a bit behind, and then I have to do a lot of more administrative work to catch them up and put less time doing some of the content. But I'm going to try to find ways to incorporate the people on the wait list as they wait for the next session. So this session is slated to end at the end of July, I believe. And so beginning of August, I am planning to start a new one. So if you're on the wait list, I will try. I'll try my best to add you back then. Now, there are some people that are that have dropped the class, and so we do need a few people to come back in. But I'm not in charge of that portion anymore, just because I need to focus on the material and helping you guys out with the science behind it. Okay, I hope that answers your question. So, not related to this whole thing, I've always wondered why we choke on water, we drink water to get rid of it. I don't know. I really don't know. Maybe because when we cough, we cause a little bit of inflammation to the esophagus, and that helps soothe the esophagus, but it doesn't help with the choking of water. So, yeah. So the rest of the chest pain videos, after this, I'm gonna work on it, and I have it all slated up. And so I will hopefully try to post it today. If we don't do the cases tomorrow and we push it back to the next week, I will try my best to post it over like this weekend. So you have everything available for you, so you can really discuss it with your team. If we decide to do chest pain this week, then next week we're going to so if we decide to do chest pain this week, I'm not going to put as much out, and next week you're going to have information on abdominal pain. So and I'll focus more on getting the information out for abdominal pain. So okay. Do all the residents have to check off who is going to the live session, or is it okay if one of the group members? Yeah, if only one group member checks it off, that's okay. It's just so I have a list of people that are going. On what classroom number high school students fall under? So you guys are always one. High school students are always they're the med students one, and so I hope that answers your question. I don't know if there was a second part of that question. Okay. What if we're not applying this cycle? We'll be applying later in the future. Will this program still be applicable? Yeah. So I will keep track of your hours. You should definitely keep track of your hours too. But I will. The reason why I am doing the post quiz and having a question there on how many hours you spent is so that I can keep track of that as well. And it's going to be within the Google Drive. So if you come back and say, hey, I attended your class, we'll try to find you. You just have to make sure you know your email and we'll be able to find you that way. Okay. Would the post quiz be just for the members who were in the live session or for everyone? It's going to be for everyone. Everyone who took the pre quiz needs to take the post quiz, but make sure you take the post quiz as soon as you can because we're going to have a session going over it, and I need to make sure that I have accurate data about what it is that you learned from the class, so that we can tailor the learning a bit more to whatever is going to be most helpful for you. So if you're part of the Facebook group, the waitlist is on the Facebook group, and maybe we can pin that comment up top so that it's there. They can join the Facebook group and they can subscribe to the YouTube, and so they'll get those updates. But the Facebook group is going to have most of the materials, and they'll know what the flow of the class is, and they can use that link there to sign up for the waitlist. Okay. Give me 1 second, guys. I need to make a quick phone call. My hospital is calling me, so I will be right back. I apologize. All right, sorry about that, guys. Okay. So the difference between SIRS versus sepsis. So SIRS and sepsis are basically the same thing. SIRS is a systemic inflammatory response syndrome. Basically, it's a way of categorizing widespread inflammation throughout the body. A lot of times, it's going to be due to a bacterial infection. And so, for SIRS, you look at the heart rate, you look at the respiratory rate, you look at the temperature, and you look at the white blood cell count. And if all of that is so, if those are elevated, you can meet SIRS criteria. And so that just tells you that there's some type of inflammation within the body. Now, if you have a source for that inflammation, let's say you have a pneumonia, that now becomes sepsis. So you have to have SIRS to have sepsis. And so you meet that criteria, you have SIRS. If you have a source for that inflammation, now you have sepsis. And so it's just a way of saying, one, do you have a systemic inflammatory response without any known cause? Or without any known cause? Or two, do you have all that, but now you have a cause for that inflammation? So I hope that makes sense. When will we find out if the patient case discussions are this weekend or next weekend? I will let you guys know at about 6:00 p.m. Pacific time. I'll look at the votes and see where everybody stands. If it's overwhelmingly next week, I'm going to push it to next week. So just check back then. If you have to go to sleep before then, if it's too late for you, just check back in the morning, and you'll have the answer. If you can't find the answer, just join in and see that nobody's there, and then you'll know it's next week. Okay. Can I use this for applying to college instead of med school? Yeah, you can. Did you email the link to the Google folder? I remember seeing it, but I can't find it in your inbox. So that link, there's no link to the Google folder. Everything is hosted in the classroom. So all of your materials and everything like that should be available in the classroom. And if you can't find something, you can always look. But if you go to the top of your classroom, there's a tab that says classwork, and that lists everything that I've posted in the classroom. So just look through there. Okay. I think I answered all the questions. Feel free to add more if you guys have any more. Okay. It is okay to contact me afterwards. Just use that same email that you have there. Would this be categorized as shadowing or volunteering experience, or it doesn't matter? I don't think it necessarily matters. I don't know if I would categorize this as volunteering, just because we haven't really volunteered to do anything as of yet. I'd probably go more with shadowing. I forget, there was another category that somebody told me about. It's been a while since I applied, so I don't know exactly every single category, but I would probably go with shadowing. If you need help in the future doing this program again, yeah. So after this round of sessions, if you do want to help out and you want to be a part of it, I am going to send out applications on and with exactly what I need to help out, and so you can consider being part of the team. If you're applying for med school in a few years, you can still use this on your application. Yeah, I'll hopefully still be around, and you can send the med schools to come and contact me if they need to, and you'll have the information that you need to put on your application. So. When are we going to turn in notes for the preparation of the cases? That's going to be at the end of the topic cycle. So for right now, it's chest pain. So at the end of chest pain, you're going to turn in the notes on the Google Classroom, and I'll just make sure that there's a submission for every person. What do you think the length of this program will be for this round? I have it set up. There's a calendar that was sent out yesterday or the day before, I forget. And I have it set up to the end of July. So it's going to be about 8 weeks. And then that way we can cycle it every 8 weeks as needed. So If you want to join back to the classroom, I would. I don't know how beneficial it would be because I might be using the same materials, but I'm going to figure out a way of keeping you guys engaged, and maybe we can do cases together that aren't curated by me, and we can figure them out together as kind of a group. So if you attended this session, so this coming session, I would prefer if you let somebody else in your group do it. Now, if you have a group of like 3, and we have about 5 different sessions coming up, it's okay to go twice. Or if there's nobody in your group that can go, you can definitely go again. But just give other people an opportunity of coming into the live session too. After the 8 weeks, will you still have access to the Google Classroom and the resources on it? I haven't decided that yet. I don't know. I'd have to look at the logistics of it and see. Maybe we can put all the resources in a folder and send that out to everybody. I'm not entirely sure yet. I'd have to think about that. Okay. Other than chest pain and abdominal pain, were there any other topics that you guys want to talk about? I know we talked about, medical ethics, and maybe we'll tailor that to something else. I was thinking health disparities, which would be something interesting, I think, to talk about and worthwhile. But other topics that you have suggestions on would be helpful too. For case 2, it says the patient has a past medical history of hypertension. That mean they still have hypertension. Sorry. Whenever I say like past medical history, it generally means that they still have it. A lot of times we say that when it's like not an active problem, like they have hypertension, but they're generally controlled versus they're not. And so it just means that they have hypertension. Overview of oncology, endocrinology, cancer, neurology, health disparities. Okay. Yeah. Cancer would be interesting. I have a few interesting cancer cases that I've seen. Yeah. So I can put something together for cancer. Can we go over medical cases that might not be common in the U.S. but more common in other parts of the world? Yeah, that's actually a good idea. A lot of those are going to be like infectious diseases. So that is a good idea to post a poll. We can do an infectious disease one. I actually love infectious diseases, and it's ID is a very interesting field of medicine. So that's a good idea. Post a poll. So the problem with rare cases is that it makes it harder for you guys to to distinguish and to come up with the diagnosis, because it's a harder diagnosis. It's easier for the chest pain one because you guys are generally aware of what a heart attack is. Some of you have an idea of what a pulmonary embolism is, and this is easier to conceptually understand versus rare cases. A lot of times it is they're harder to conceptually understand. A lot of people aren't going to be familiar with them, and so it's going to be harder to actually do and be worthwhile for you guys. And so maybe in the future, if you guys stick around, we can do some rare cases together, and we can go through figuring things out together. So yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. So, are there some things that aren't mentioned in the cases but can be true? For example, for case 2, could the patient have been drinking alcohol at the party? Yeah, I didn't give you the entire history, so that is a very good catch. If there's something not mentioned, you should definitely think about it and talk about some of the different possibilities, because I'm going to give you more history in the live cases. And I know that's kind of like in a way a little unfair because you can't think of everything, but that's the whole point of this, to be able to conceptually think through these things. And in general, medicine should make sense. So I'm trying to give you the baseline foundation of understanding for the medicine behind it, and you apply what you know and to something that makes sense. And that's generally what doctors do. And I designed it this way because even in med school and in residency, a lot of students don't get that training, and so it'll make you in the future a better doctor to have that experience of doing things on the fly and being able to think these things through. So yeah, but that's a good catch. There's definitely things in the cases that were not mentioned. So there are. I was thinking of other things that we can also potentially do aside from cases. There have been. This is probably in the future and not for this next few weeks. But there were some people asking about going over like what the differences between DO and MDs are, and kind of talking about our experience. And so if there's something in medicine that you're interested in, maybe we can put together a like a Google form where you can fill out and add things that you'd want to learn about. That way we can I can have a little bit of direction in what to teach you, and talk about my experience, and then and you can and we can all kind of benefit from it. So it's just an idea. In the end, can we go over a blind case? Like, we don't know if it's chest pain, neuro, GI. We have the chief complaint. Yeah, that'd be really cool. That would actually be a good kind of last case to do, where we talk about something that could be really anything. So you're kind of thinking more broadly. Okay, so the note submission before the cases. So at the end of this 3-week session, you're going to submit whatever notes you have on the Google Classroom, and you're going to you're basically going to submit all your notes so that I have some type of record, and the assignment will be there. You don't have to worry about it right now, but I'll give you time to do that. So just keep an eye out for it. Different doctors and specialties. Yeah, that is a excellent point, and we can definitely do that. I'm gonna. Sorry. I'm gonna just write down some of these, and then we can put them together on a Google Doc that you guys can fill out too. Okay, maybe it would be okay if a person had an MVA and broke their C5 and 6 and shattered their C4, would they survive? They can. Depends on how much compromise there is of the spinal cord. So the bone itself, it's not. Breaking a bone is not going to kill you. It depends on how much of the spinal cord is injured, and if that is having effect on the other vital organs. And so they can technically survive. You would put them in a collar and try to immobilize their neck so you don't have instability of the spinal cord. But yes, I do believe that they can survive. Okay. For submitting notes, does everybody have to just the people who volunteered to do so? Everybody. So I don't necessarily care how pretty the notes are. It's whatever you have. If you have a document that is literally you typed up, I wrote notes, that's fine with me. I just need to have a document of you doing something. And so I would prefer that you put in whatever notes you actually used, but you don't have to make it as pretty or whatever as other people might. So it's completely up to you. You just need to submit something. How to navigate med school. Okay. our group share a Google Doc. Yeah, you can all submit the same document. That's okay. Um, okay. There, a question for you guys. There, there are some podcasts out there that go through cases and go through like the differential diagnosis and all that stuff, kind of like what we're doing here, but it's more tailored to med students and residents. I haven't really seen one for that is tailored to pre meds and going through cases like this. Is that something that you would be interested in? And just generally talking about some of the things that we see in medicine and some of the things that we navigate as doctors, um, because I figured I haven't really seen a lot of stuff out there for people at your level to go through cases and learn what it's like to be a doctor and even practice it. So if that is something that you would be interested in, let me know. That way, it's not necessarily within this platform, but it is something that even after this, you can kind of reference and learn from. Should I submit the YouTube links since they were part of my notes? You don't. Oh, so like different notes outside, different links outside of what I provided for you. Yeah, that's okay. Um, Organ transplantation. That would be really cool. Uh, I don't know. It would be difficult to make it into a case. I think it would have to be something more of like the complications of organ transplant, and that might be a bit too difficult for a lot of people. Okay, I'm glad you guys like that idea. Um, for some of these like more difficult cases, I think. Oops, sorry. I think a good format for those to actually go through those would be if we go through it together, meaning I am part of your group as well, and we can figure out a good platform on how to do that. So we can kind of guide each other on um, how to solve these cases, because organ transplant and the complications can be pretty difficult, even for me. So yeah, okay. It can be both. I mean, we can talk about specific cases of medical knowledge. We can use the case to learn medical knowledge. And that's what being a doctor is. You use different cases to learn about different disease states and how it presents and how you treat it and all that stuff. And so I think it would be interesting. Okay, cool. I'll look into putting it together. I think I need to focus on this first and making sure that this program is good for all of you guys, and then but we can maybe put together a podcast. And the other thing, it'd be interesting to interview some people, and it'd be interesting to interview some of you guys too, because you guys have a lot of really good experience and a lot of varied experiences in medicine and as pre-meds. And so that'd actually be something really cool to do if you guys would be interested in it. Okay, I think I answered all the questions. Um, since there are 6 sessions, not all group members will be able to attend the same number of meetings. That is okay. So some people are going to attend 2, others are going to attend just 1, and that's okay. The session on July 4th is going to be open to everybody, and so it will be everybody will be able to attend and participate. And so we're probably going to use that as a way to go over a case together, but I haven't decided exactly what it would be. I figured that a lot of people aren't going to be able to attend July 4th. And so because of that, it would just be better, whoever can come can come. This is my last year of residency. Yes. Okay. So I am family medicine, so I'm a generalist. I am looking into maybe doing a fellowship, but not sure exactly what I want to go into. I have a lot of different interests, and that's kind of why I chose family medicine. Um, I was thinking of specializing in obstetrics and being able to deliver and deliver babies and do C sections and all that. Also thinking about addiction medicine and how we treat, especially women who are pregnant and have a substance use disorder. Um, and the other thing I was thinking is community medicine and health policy. No, so I am a second year currently, and I'm going to start my third year in a month. So I have one more year to go. Um, so which hospital do I work at? So uh, I apologize. I've been keeping my hospital work away from all of this because I don't want to have any mixing of that. So I haven't answered that. So sorry. Um, can you do a vlog about the day in your life? I can. It would have to be in that context though, and I'd probably have to ask permission for my hospital and my residency if they'd be okay with it. But that would be cool to do. Um, and it'll show you kind of like the breadth of what we do in family medicine because we do more than just clinic work. There's a lot that goes into you know the day in a family medicine doctor's life. So yeah. Okay. Um, so taking a gap year, I took 2 gap years. So it really depends on what you are doing during those gap years. If you it's okay to do it as long as you're doing it and you're doing something during that time. So for me, I did a master's. I was an engineer, so I did a master's in engineering. For other people, it's taking extra classes, getting their GPA up. Other people, they want to volunteer, and that's good. I would say whatever you do, have some type of service attached to what you're doing because that'll show that it's not all about grades. You wanted to do something on top of that. You don't have to do that, but in general, it makes it look a little bit better. The last thing that you want to do is just take a gap year and not do anything because that doesn't really show motivation. It doesn't show leadership. So just keep that in mind when you're doing it. And there's a lot of different things that you can consider doing during that gap year. Okay, what are some good when applying to med school? Some good what? Okay. What's your advice for a pre-med trying to go straight without a gap year? Um, do do your best during. So one, get good grades. Obviously, do well in the MCAT. It's a given. Um, get good experience and try your best to get as much experience as you can. So that's going to be volunteering experience or work experience, and try your best to put a lot into one specific experience because you need to designate what your top experiences were and why they were most impactful. And so whatever you decide that is going to be, you're going to have to be able to talk about it eloquently and talk about why it was so important. So having those good experiences are going to be very, very important as you apply. Also, get out of your comfort zone and don't just focus on medicine. Look at things that you yourself really like because that's going to help you distinguish yourself from other people that are applying. And so, for me, my thing was music. I love music. I love playing music. I play guitar, and so I was able to blend music and medicine together. And so I played music for patients at a hospital. And so I was asked about that every single interview, and I had to talk about it every single interview. But I was remembered as that person that played music for patients and how that made me understand kind of what the patient goes through a bit more. And so finding whatever that is for you. If you're an artist, do art, draw, whatever it is that you do, and apply it to something that is going to benefit your community or benefit others. And that way you can talk about something that you really, really love in the context of how it's going to make you a better doctor. And it's going to make you shine more than other people that may have just did a lot of scribe work, which is not a bad thing. Having that experience is good, but a lot of people do scribe work, and so you want to make yourself stand out in some way. Okay. Can we discuss the fear of attached when taking the MCAT, especially for retakers, or maybe how to overcome it? Yeah, so that's hard. That kind of goes into test anxiety. I I had it that is something difficult to go through and overcome. Uh, the best way to do it is so for me the best way to get over testing anxiety is to practice as much as you can. And so doing as many questions and getting the feel of those question format is super important, because it takes away that element of the unknown. And so if there's practice tests for the MCAT, do those. The UWorld questions I heard are really, really good. So do as many of those as you can and time yourself like you're in the actual environment. Now, if it's a actual test anxiety thing, there is a lot of help that you can get for it. And so I would recommend talking to others that may have overcome it, or if it's severe enough, you talk to your doctor about it. Maybe there's or even like the disability center, you can get accommodations if you have severe test anxiety. So we can always talk about that offline too if you want. Medical school in 3 years. Yeah. I know people that did 3 years of college. They finished up and they were able to do their MCAT and all that and go in. So it is possible. Clinical experience necessary to apply to med school. So I didn't have a ton of clinical experience. My experience was as a case manager for diabetic patients. That was like the main thing that I did, aside from like the hospital work. But that wasn't really clinical. That was just talking to patients. I think if you do, so I had no scribing experience. I wasn't an EMT or anything like that. If you do things outside of the clinical experience, that's okay too. You don't necessarily have to have 400 hours as an EMT or as a scribe. What's more important, in my opinion, and from what I've seen from other schools, is how you spent your time, and is it something that was worthwhile that benefited other people. Being a scribe and all that is great because you get that experience, but you want to have a diverse set of experiences. And I would argue that showing that you want to help people and showing that you did help people is a little bit more important and more beneficial than being a scribe. That's my own personal opinion, and it's not necessarily shared by everybody, I would say, but from a lot of people that I've talked to, they've kind of agreed with me with that. So if you're able to do both, that's really good too. Are we still doing the case this week? Or are we this weekend? Or are we pushing back to last week? So depending on what the consensus or the majority decides on the Google Classroom, I will decide then. So 6 p.m. Pacific time, I'll look through all the responses, and if it's overwhelmingly they want to push it back another week, we're going to push it back another week. And I'll let you know around that time. Is it better to work as a CNA or shadow or volunteer? I think they're both good. I don't think one is better than the other. I think if you can get varied experience, that's going to be better. If you're planning on traveling during a gap year, how can we add service to that? I mean, if you do service wherever you go, that's a good way of doing it. But if you don't have that opportunity, you don't have to necessarily do service. Just talk about what you learned and talk about how that made you grow as a person. There's plenty of people that travel for a year, but you have to focus on what you learned about other people and what you learned about different cultures, because that is going to show that you are empathetic and you have that understanding of diverse groups of people. I hope that makes sense. What's the difference between dissection and a rupture? So if this is your this is one side of your vessel. If blood goes in through here and opens up the different layers of the vessel, now you have this opening and it's kind of like little pouch there. And so as blood seeps in there, it can dissect it going down. And so that opens up the pouch more and more, but you're not penetrating through the vessel itself. Versus if you have a rupture, instead of going through that pouch, well, if this is your vessel here, well, now you just broke it open and you have blood spilling outside of that vasculature. So hope that answers your question. Study methods that helped during med school. So what helped me the most, in all honesty, was doing questions. So when I started doing questions with the question bank that the first aid for step one, I saw my grades get better because I was testing myself pretty much all the time. What I have noticed though is in the beginning of med school, I would focus on rewriting my notes over and over and over again to try to memorize it, and watching the lectures over and over and over again to try to memorize what was going on. And because of the amount of information they have to know, that's not very practical, and I wasn't doing too good. And so instead, what I did is I would look through the lecture PowerPoint first, look at what the objectives are, kind of write those down, and write down little notes that I think are going to be important. Then as I watched the lecture, I never went to class. Or I never went to class when I could, when I was able to, because everything was recorded and I would watch everything on double speed. And so as I went through the lecture on double speed, I'd write little notes about what the professor said. And from there, I would try to condense my notes as much as possible. And in the margin of my notes, I would write questions on what was the most important thing out of this topic or this lecture. What is the lecturer trying to get at when they're talking about congestive heart failure or something like that, Frank-Starling curve. And that way I can use those questions to test myself. Like, so what is the Frank-Starling curve? And then if I didn't know the answer, I had the information on the right-hand side to kind of go through it. And so that was a way of kind of testing myself. You can transport that into a Quizlet deck or an Anki deck, and that works too. But the key is test yourself as much as possible, because only then are you going to know what you don't know and what you have to focus on. A lot of us get really comfortable with going through the first few lectures a lot of times as they start to study, because that's what they know and what they've heard a lot of times, and you tend to neglect the things that you really need to study. And so my biggest advice is test yourself and do the hardest material first. So, yeah. Can they both be caused by an aneurysm? So an aneurysm is basically an outpouching of the vessel. I believe it's of both layers of all the layers of the vessel. So aneurysms would generally cause rupture. They wouldn't necessarily cause dissection. You didn't go to classes regularly? So nobody really cared. A lot of people didn't go to class. And it's because our schools understood that there was different ways that people learned, and you don't necessarily need to be in lecture to learn. So not every school is like that, but if you can get away with that, I think it's something worthwhile to try out. If you're somebody that can't really stick to a schedule though, I would be wary of it, because you can get behind really quick. A competitive GPA for engineering pre-med. I don't think there's a distinction between engineering and non-engineering. So like the regular science, bio pre-meds. So it would be the same, which I think the average is like 3.7 for MD schools. But I'd have to double check that. In engineering though, sometimes the classes are hard, but they grade a little bit easier because everybody does poorly on the tests. So sometimes that happens. It really depends on your school and your professors. So yeah, but to answer your question, I think it's all the same. I went to Western over in Southern California. Okay. Any other questions, guys? Um, what major covers more med school materials? More med school materials? Mm, maybe maybe a neuroscience one. That's probably what would be most beneficial. But I think any major that you go into, you're going to learn the basics and the foundations, but you're gonna have to relearn all of that in med school. Neuroscience is the only one that I've heard that people say, yeah, I learned this in my neuroscience classes and it was actually beneficial because everybody in med school struggles to neuro. So, yeah. Other than that, though, you're going to relearn all your bio, you're going to relearn all your biochem and your genetics and all that. So it, it is what it is. Would you say there's more specialty options in family medicine or internal medicine? I think there are different specialty options. So internal medicine is what you do to specialize in cardiology, nephrology, pulmonology, infectious diseases. So you have to go through the internal medicine route to get to those specialties. Versus family medicine, you can't specialize in those, but you can specialize in other things. So you can specialize in addiction, you can do OB family medicine, you can do geriatrics, you can do community medicine. There's like informatics and health policy. Um, and some of these you can actually do as an internal medicine doctor as well. The difference between an FM specialist and an IM specialist is that specializing in IM generally restricts your scope of practice versus FM generally broadens your scope of practice. So in the end, in family medicine, um, depending on your training, you can see adults, you can see the elderly, you can see kids, you can see pregnant women, you can deliver their babies, you can take care of the babies you delivered, you can do minor surgeries, and take out lumps and bumps and all that, and so you can really do a lot of different things, and it's just a matter of what you want to incorporate in your practice. And so that's kind of to answer Jasmine's point. That's a question. That's kind of why I chose family medicine as well. How am I doing? I'm doing okay. Things are picking up, and so the new interns in my program are coming in soon, and so we're preparing for that. So it's gonna be a busy few weeks, but it'll be a lot of fun. Do you intern before residency, or do people go straight into residency? So intern year is basically the first year of residency. There's some programs that distinguish an intern year specifically. So like that's a traditional year or whatever. And those are generally more for people going into some of the more subspecialized things. So I think dermatology is one of them. Radiology is another one. And so the intern year is that general scope of medicine where you learn about internal medicine, pediatrics, OB, depending on the program you go to, and kind of the general information. Then from there, but other programs will have that distinction. Um, any chance I'll be an actual YouTuber and share your medical journey with us? I mean, I can. I just don't know how how much people would want to actually see that. So that's why I haven't. I don't know if I have a ton more to share that isn't already shared on YouTube, but I can. If you guys want. Um, favorite and least favorite part of the job in medicine. It's more about you than it is how. And so I always tell. And so, oh no. And so that's very, 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 very important. The thing that I dislike currently is I guess in that grain, sometimes you don't have enough time to really spend with the patient because a lot of you have to see more patients after that. And I think for me, it's a bit of a problem because I can sometimes be inefficient because I spend a lot of time with a specific patient and I want to talk to them as much as possible. Um, so uh, so yeah, so that's why that's kind of like my least favorite thing, but it gets better. Um, okay, off topic, but do you know if there's a link between hypothyroidism and diabetes? Hypothyroidism and diabetes. Depends on the type of diabetes. I'd have to look into it more again. But both can be autoimmune if you have type 1, and hypothyroidism can be autoimmune too. So I'd have to look into that a bit more. Any experiences and know anything about student athletes getting into med school? I honestly don't. I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to necessarily talk about something I don't know a ton about. So Diana came in late. Was there anything I missed pertaining to the virtual rounds that would be important to know? So I'll put everything in the classroom, Diana. But uh, what basically right now we're just talking about what to expect over the next few weeks. We're trying to figure out whether or not we want to continue with the case tomorrow versus the week after. But honestly, just fill out the poll and I'll let you know about 6 o'clock Pacific time whether or not we're going to push it back to the week after. We went through a little bit of questions that people had about the case. So if you had questions about the case, I can try to help you out or direct you if you want. But it wasn't anything specific. It was more kind of up in the air with whatever it is that you want to ask. Casper, when is the exam given? I don't know a lot. I don't know about that actually. I mean, I can try to look it up, but I wouldn't be super helpful with that. Med schools don't see going to doing medical mission trips as interesting. Something that sets the applicant apart. I think a lot of students do medical mission trips, and a lot of the admissions committee people that I talk to say, yeah, that doesn't really matter. But I think a lot of it is actually how you sell it. So if you show that you grew as a person because of it, I think that's more relevant than just saying I went and did this. But there's also kind of that financial barrier too, because not everybody is going to be able to. Not everybody's going to be able to actually afford going, and so I think a lot of times it was kind of like a pay for experience. So, but not every admissions committee is the same. And you do it if you want to do it. There's no reason why you shouldn't. It's not going to make you look bad if you do. Yeah, of course. You know, you guys are going to be my future colleagues, so it's good to be able to help each other out. There are a lot of programs out there that can help you get experience. So if I come across something, though, I'll let you know. So I am family medicine. I was talking a bit before. I might specialize into something else, do a fellowship in addiction or OB or community medicine. I don't know yet. I'm right now doing a fellowship in health policy. So it's been interesting, especially with everything going on. So we should continue doing good. Whatever topics you guys want me to go over, just let me know. We'll put up a document where you can kind of put what you want to learn about, and we can go over those. Does anybody have any questions about the cases or the format of the next few weeks? Your group was not assigned to a hospital group. Can you email me and let me know that? And tell me what group you are and what classroom. That way we can take care of it. Okay. All right. So it's about 3:40. I said I was going to go till about 4 o'clock. If anybody has any more questions, or if nobody has any more questions, I am going to jump off early unless you have any burning questions. So if people from the other group are non-responsive, we're taking care. We're trying to take care of it. Just let that the people that are responsive know from that group that they should be emailing us to let us know. Does the second So does the male lawyer's pain change with posture, or is it just constant? Um, if I remember correctly, it's constant. So questions like that, those are the questions that you're going to be asking in the live session. Um, so just to overview that again. So when we do the live sessions, because you don't have all of the information there, you are going to be asking about these questions. So I gave you the general information. The pain is substernal, I believe, and I forget exactly what I said now. But you're going to be asking stuff like, okay, does it change with position? Does it hurt more when he inhales and exhales? Does it radiate anywhere? Does he have associated nausea, vomiting, all that stuff? So it's going to be important to kind of put your different differential diagnoses into little buckets. So, like for instance, decide, is this a heart problem? Is this a lung problem? Can it be both? And within the heart problem, what are some of the signs that we're going to look for? Within the lung problem, what are the signs that we're going to look for? Same thing with the GI, and use that as a way to kind of tailor your questioning. I'm going to guide you a bit more than you just asking, random, not random questions, but asking questions yourself. Um, but you should be thinking that way. And what I'm going to do is after this, I'm going to go and record myself going through a case that I've never seen before, so I can show you how I approach going through cases, and so you can kind of emulate what I do and get a better idea of what a style that you can incorporate. Do I take attendance of who is present in the live session? So yeah, so before I add you in, I get a notification saying that this person is requesting to join the class. And so with that, I kind of mark you down as to who came in and who didn't. So yeah, so I do take attendance. Does changing your major have an impact on your med school? No, it doesn't. I changed my major like 5 times. Doesn't really matter. Diana, if you have more questions, I can still be here for the next 20 minutes. So just feel free to ask. And then this is also, so if you missed the beginning part, this is also going to be uploaded to YouTube afterwards. So you can always go back and watch the beginning. So if you can't attend a session, so if you can't attend a session and you're supposed to be the person that's representing your group, then yeah, definitely let me know. If you can't attend a session and you're going to be just watching from YouTube and supporting from YouTube, then you don't necessarily have to let me know. Just let your group know, and then I just ask that whenever you have time, to come back and watch that video so you can learn about what we talked about during that session and learn about that process. So yeah, so if you're going to be your representative, yeah, let me know. If not, then you don't have to. Just make sure you go back and watch the video. I was a biomedical engineer. I did 2 years at a city college and then 2 years in undergrad, and then I did a year of my master's in engineering, and then I decided to do medicine. High school students are allowed to come to the meeting, or do you want? No. So high school students, everybody's going to come. The reason why we can't do a representative from high school is because I'm not live streaming it, and so for the high school students, everybody can be a part of it. It is sometimes hard to determine who I did and who I didn't call on. So just be patient with me, and then if you haven't been called on, sometimes when I'm trying to find somebody, it's easier if I just look in the chat and to see who asked a question or whatever, so I can generally call them. And that's that's not to discourage anybody from asking questions during the session. So but that is something that I do sometimes. What happens when you ask us a question during the live and we don't know the answer? Try your best. You don't have to. I don't expect you to know the answer. So if you give your best guess, that's fine with me. And I'll redirect you and kind of show you kind of how to get to the right answer and the way to think about it. But you guys are not doctors. You guys are not even medical students yet. So I really, really, really don't expect you to know anything really. So just try your best, and if you don't know and you can't think of anything to answer, that's okay too. Just like I really don't know, and we kind of will go through it. Sometimes if there's a lot of people that I still need to ask, I'll say that's okay. Let's see if another person can help you out. That's not to say anything bad about you not knowing anything. We're all here to kind of learn from each other. So, and you'll probably see when I go through the case and upload it to YouTube. When I do the case that I'm going to show you how my own process, there might be things I don't know. And that's okay too. I think part of being a doctor is being able to acknowledge that you don't know everything. And so there might be some mistakes. There might be things that I just don't know about, and I'll let you know. And so we learn together, even me. Okay. All right. Any other questions, guys? What's been the best way for me to get in contact with you? Has the classrooms been the best, or Facebook, or I haven't really emailed you. The classroom generally emails you, but what is the best way from your guys' experience? Okay. I did sign up for what's called the community app, so I can get a number. But I don't know if I'm going to actually be approved of that for that, because I don't think I have a large enough following. So we'll see. But I will definitely be posting everything in the Google Classroom, so you can always just look there. Okay. All right. So if there are no other questions, I am going to end the stream. So if there are more questions that you think of afterwards, post it in the classroom or email me. That's okay, and I will let you all know whether or not we're going to do the cases tomorrow. If we don't do the cases tomorrow, if I can get all of you guys to help me out and just let your group members know in case they aren't aware. That way we let as many people know as possible. I'll post it in the classroom. I'll post it on the Facebook group as well. No, Kia, if you have any, so are you asking, is it too late to join the program in general, or too late to join the live stream? You guys are welcome. If there are more questions, I can stay on for a few more minutes. So the program, I think, is pretty full right now. If I would say join the waitlist. Where we have people that dropped out, and so we're going to add whoever we can, but it might not be that many. we are going to have once the cycle goes through, probably by the end of July, we might be starting a new cohort, and that's probably going to be in August. So if you are interested, then sign up for the waitlist, and we can add you in. And then also, if you keep a track of what we're doing through YouTube, through Facebook, all that stuff, there will be more opportunities, I hope, in the future for the people on the wait list. So, yeah. Well, thanks. I haven't posted on TikTok for a while because I've been doing this, but I am going to post more hopefully soon. So, yeah. All right, guys, I will let you go. And if there are any more questions, feel free to reach out. Most of the questions for the class directed to the email. If there's anything else like mentoring or whatever, you can always message me on Instagram, and I'll get to it as soon as I can. All right. Have a good day. Stay safe, and I'll let you know about tomorrow in the next few hours.